Ever hear or read about macros and the importance of them, but you don't quite understand what they are? I want to dive into macros and give you a basic understanding of what they are and the important role that they can play, not just in fat loss and body composition, but also in general health. Macros, first of all, is the shortened term. Macronutrients is the actual full term for it. What makes up macros? We've got protein, fat, and carbs. A simple way to look at protein is that it's the building block for your body and for your muscles. Without protein, our bodies wouldn't have the building blocks that they need to be able to pack on size. On top of that, proteins bring a lot of amino acids that our body needs, but that's a whole nother level to get into. With protein, 1 gram of protein equals 4 calories, and the general recommendation for it is that you want to at least get 1.2 grams per kilo of body weight, but I enjoy quite a high protein diet, so for myself, I fluctuate around the 1.8 to 2 grams per body weight. But it really depends on your enjoyment and also how easy you find it to eat protein. But I would say try and aim for the minimum of 1.2 grams per body weight. But a nice area to sit for is the 1.4, especially if you're trying to put on some muscle and size. Going for the 1.6 is quite good. Next up, we've got carbs. Carbs are the primary fuel source for our body. 1 gram of carbs, like protein, equals 4 calories. Carbs in a diet are very important as they break down into our primary fuel source, glucose. Doing high demanding workouts or exercise that require a lot of intensity and performance, without carbs, it just sucks. That's the end of that there. It sucks. It's like going to your car and diluting the amount of petrol that you put into it and then thinking that it's going to run the same. You have to provide your body with the fuel for it to be able to perform at its best. One thing to quickly touch on about carbs is that they do retain a lot of water. The reason I touch on that is because you see some diets out there like keto trying to take away carbs from a diet. They see instant results because their water weight drops. But for most people, they're never going to be able to perform as well as if they had some carbs in their diet. One thing to also touch on about carbs is that you've got simple carbs and complex carbs. Quick and easy, simple carbs are added sugars, while complex carbs are like grains. Quick and easy, simple carbs digest quicker. That's why you see marathon runners and ultra runners downing those gels, because they're full of quick, simple carbs so they can fuel their bodies faster. While complex carbs, if you were to go eat some brown rice or a whole grain bread, it will digest slower, but the end result over time is the same. Last but not least, we've got fat. Most people, as soon as they hear fat, instantly put a negative connotation to it because obviously when someone's obese, they're holding a lot of fat, so it's instantly, oh no, we don't really want too much of that. But fat can play a really important role in just the way your body operates. It helps with immune system. It also helps hormones. So by making sure that you're getting enough fat in your diet can really help. As if you're too low on fat, obviously your immune system and your hormones are going to suffer. You're also going to go to daytime drowsiness and your libido will go down. The thing that makes fats a little bit blurry is that unlike carbs and protein where 1 gram equals 4 calories, fat is a lot more dense. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. And that's where the issue can sort of come in, because a lot of the fast food or the super calorie dense meals that most people eat these days are super rich in fat. And then that's when they can load on all of those calories. But by making sure that you're just taking in the fat that you need, it doesn't matter too much. A general good recommendation for fat is about 0.9 to 1 gram to a kilo of body weight. If you start dipping too far into like 0.7, you can find that you start getting a lot of those effects that we talked about a little earlier, with a little bit of daytime drowsiness, your libido going down, and you might just get sick more often. But obviously, a thing to note about with all of these macros is that everyone's different. Your body's preferred different. Some people might function really well on a high fat diet. Some people might function really well on super high carbs. Some people might love super high protein. I prefer high protein as it's quite satiating and it makes you feel fuller for longer. You might also note that I didn't talk about how much carbs you should have. Most of the time, if you're hitting your protein and your fat within a level that you find comfortable for you, if you fill in the rest with carbs, then you're doing well. But that can vary depending on what kind of activity you're doing, like if you're doing an ultra or a marathon run. Macros aren't set in stone. They can change depending on the period of life that you're in. For example, 2 and a bit years ago, I was having quite a lot of carbs when I was training for my ultra. But then once I finished that, I dipped down to just going back to the high protein, good bit of fat, good bit of carbs, everything that I sort of needed to perform in the gym. And then when it came to doing my powerlifting, I upped the carbs again. It's about finding what works for you in the period of life that you're in. One thing I want to touch on about macros is, you know how most people say that the gym is 70% what you eat? Well, macros are 100% what you eat. And also, if you hit all your macros, you're going to hit your calories for the day. But it's not the same in reverse. If you hit the calories that you need, but don't pay attention to the macros, there's a high chance that you might not be hitting the macros that your body needs. This doesn't mean you need to get out a calorie tracker and go ham on logging it. It's just about finding a basic understanding of what your body wants and being a bit more mindful about that. But as someone who uses a calorie tracker, I find it immensely helpful, as is if you can get over the negative connotations that come along with tracking your calories, as most people sort of look down on it, it can be quite a useful tool, and then it also gives you a bit more range to play around with what works best for you. Now that's a whole nother topic in of itself. Just having a basic understanding of macros can help a lot, either with trying to put on size and mass, or if you're trying to lose fat, just understanding that maybe if you're in a bit of a fat loss phase, upping the protein so you feel a bit more fuller and your body has the nutrients it needs to keep that muscle that you've got, go for it. If you're in a bit of a bulking phase, trying to put on some mass, you might not need as much protein because you're already getting quite full from just the amount of food that you're eating, but you want to also make sure that you're filling your body with enough fat and carbs. Understanding macros can really help you thrive in your health and your day-to-day life. And if you want another way to thrive, in the description, I give you 33 tips over 33 days that will change your life in 33 ways. I hope I was able to give you a basic understanding of macros, the 3 different types, and how they all tie into each other, but also tie into your well-being. If you ever have any questions, chuck them down in the description and I'll see you guys next time.